Welcome to the C-Suite podcast with me, Graham Barrett. I'm here in Frankfurt for Sibos, the global financial services event. We're producing these episodes in partnership with Kyndryl, who run and reimagine mission-critical technology systems that drive advantage for the world's leading businesses. I'm going to be sitting down here on Kyndryl's booth with some of the speakers and attendees to get a real snapshot of the main talking points of the event. Really hope you enjoy the show. Yeah, pleased to say I'm joined by Allison Shonerd here, who is Head of Global Clearing at Bank of America. Allison, welcome.
Thank you. Very glad to be here.
Yeah, great that you could join us here on the podcast. Now, you spoke on a session on Monday, didn't you, here at Sibos, talking about how far the industry has come in preparing payments. So what are some of the biggest improvements we've seen over the last few years?
Oh, wow. Well...
Big question.
Yeah, I know. Well, I have to say that we have come a long way. There's still a long way to go. I think we have done a pretty good job as an industry of using the tools available to us in terms of things like machine learning and business rules to build logic that can help to analyze and augment payment instructions that come into our payment systems. We've gone from a time when STP rates were 80-85% and something to be proud of to now more like 98, 99,
yeah,
but it's amazing how much room there still is to go.
I guess, that goes into my next question about the expectations around payments. I mean, they've grown exponentially as well, haven't they? So how is that, feeding into the way you think about preparation at Bank of America? Yeah,
well, I think payments today, more than ever before, are an experience, right? Not a commodity, not a byproduct of something. There's an expectation that payments are going to be easy, that they're going to be fast and low friction, and so many of the things that can get in the way of that great experience, have to do with payment preparation.
It'd be remiss of us at an event like Sibos not to talk about technology, and particularly AI, but just as technology as a whole, how is that helping to ensure all these payments flow smoothly?
Well, interestingly, over the last several years, we and the industry have been investing quite heavily in ISO 20022 and a structured message framework that's being implemented in markets around the world. That's been a very heavy tech investment and required a lot of resource to be able to implement and make these migrations. But I think the great thing is that that puts us now in a position where payments can carry very rich structured data that can be more easily analyzed and leveraged by a lot of the tools and technologies that are coming into the space. I think that's a really exciting enhancement.
Yeah, so it's almost like that framework now, isn't it? So everything is in place. So,
exactly.
So what can happen next then for AI? Where in payment preparation are you going to see the biggest benefit?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think we look at opportunities in AI in this space from two different angles. One is how it can help banks like us operationally. So with things like data cleaning and enrichment, looking at patterns and anomalies, whether it's in the way that we process payments, the way that we screen payments for sanctions and AML concerns. AML can play a really interesting role in helping to optimize that. I think it also plays a role, though, in the value that we give to our customers. And at the end of the day, it's so important that we're getting good data into the payment system to begin with. And AI can really help to, again, analyze our clients' own payment information to show us where there are opportunities for better STP or where better data is needed, things like that.
Do you think your customers will see that benefit of AI? I mean, they'll see, no doubt, an improvement in their service, but does the AI kind of just work in the background, or would it be quite visible to them when that is being used?
I think that's really where, if we can provide meaningful insights to our clients, if we can give them on-demand STP reporting that says, here's a change you can make that will help your payments to move faster, then they'll really start to feel that benefit. But yeah, I think so much of the work that we do in this space is really going to help us, and it's going to make us more optimized and able to better serve our clients. But yeah, I'm not sure that they'll see that.
Just one last question about AI. Obviously, you've got how it helps you as an organization, how it affects your customers. What about your workforce as well, in terms of training them to use all these tools and working alongside the AI, as it were?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we've seen some great opportunities for AI to really help our teams to receive and synthesize lots of information across the organization. Using AI, we've launched a number of tools in this space that are enabling that type of capability. I think especially where in the payments world, we're seeing more data come through, and we need to be able to understand and analyze that. Again, where AI can help us to actually analyze and synthesize that information really quickly. It will help our teams do their job more efficiently as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Things are changing pretty rapidly, aren't
Yeah,
they?
exactly.
So, Allison, Shonerd, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm now here with Sunday Domingo, who is Global Head CIB Digital Channel Solutions at Standard Chartered. Sunday, lovely to see you.
Great to meet you, Graham, and thanks for having me at the C-Suite podcast.
Not at all. It's great to see you here. Now, I'm keen to hear about your panel session, first of all, which was called Efficiency and Data Monetization Cases for ISO. So explain to me how ISO could potentially drive efficiency and, of course, innovation.
Yeah, so Monday morning panel with Swift on ISO 2022. And really, ISO 2022 is going to be a transformational impact on banking. It's really the first time that we have a global standard across different financial messages, and particularly for payments, which is how money moves around the world. This is pretty significant, and what we're seeing is that this will not just impact cross-border payment flows, but we see a lot of countries adopting ISO 222 as a standard for high-value payment schemes in the countries as well. So this will be a true global standard. And therefore, from an efficiency perspective, we will see a lot of interoperability. Banks across the world will be able to actually process payments much faster, much more efficiently, because what we will have is we will be able to receive richer data, structured data, and ultimately that will also become the foundation really for future innovation. Innovation around how we serve our clients better, as well as meet the G20 goals of faster, cheaper, transparent payments around the world.
So what does that richer data mean for your clients?
This is a very good question, and what we tackled actually in the panel. ISO 2022 is a multi-year journey. This year, we're having compliance in terms of payment messages moving into ISO 2022 for bank-to-bank flows. But for the richer data and the structured data to be truly beneficial, we need our corporate clients, to actually send us rich and structured data as well. So a lot needs to be done to make sure our corporate customers understand the benefits of sending their banks rich and structured information, to invest in also adopting the standard, because it will give a benefit of richer data back. And for our corporate customers, what that really means is that they can perform better reconciliation. They will be able to understand their payment process and patterns better. They will be able to probably have better relationship with their vendors and suppliers, particularly if they're making payments around the world. And more than the payments outside of their company, their cash inflow will also be improved, because if they're receiving better information when they get a collection from a customer, today all they know is that they have been credited some money into their bank account, but they don't really know why and for what purpose. So that rich payment data that will come with ISO 222 really will enable a lot of our corporates and businesses to better manage cash flow, better manage their liquidity, and ultimately establish better relationships with their suppliers and customers in their ecosystem.
Now, the promise of ISO 022 is that it could potentially enable AI to provide better customer experience. Do you subscribe to that, and how could that happen?
Absolutely. I think, as you know, data is the foundation of analytics and increasing the AI solutions. So I think with the rich structured data, we're going to get a good foundation to be able to get better insights, be able to provide and enable a lot of different use cases, from enhanced risk management, right? Whether that's anomaly detection, better fraud risk management, to improving the way we serve our customers by understanding them better. With the richer data, we'll be also able to know different patterns of how our customers are sending their payments around the world, how they're receiving payments, and that will allow banks as service providers to not just give a better experience, but to enable our customers to be more data-driven. AI will really play a role in that, because that will be how we will scale these insights, across different countries, different markets, different payment types around the world.
So clearly AI is going to have a huge impact on that customer experience. But one thing I'm keen to find out as well, what impact could AI have on your own people within Standard Chartered?
We all hear about particularly generative AI or large language models. It is pretty impressive in terms of the kind of productivity gains that we will get by using the new AI tools. So Standard Chartered Bank, we are very much invested in leveraging generative AI. But I think it's very important to balance innovation with safety and soundness. At the end of the day, banks are regulated institutions, so our approach is to also put responsible AI at the heart of what we do, which means everything that we do from an AI perspective, we must be able to adhere to the principles of fairness, fair use of data, ethics, and we must also make sure that we can secure the data that we use to train the models.
Yep.
So that is a very important thing, and the only way we can do that is to actually upskill and ensure we're investing in talent programs so that the people, our employees that use the AI, understand it and are ultimately accountable for it.
The nature of work is changing, isn't it? People's roles are going to change.
Absolutely.
Potentially the skill set, the capabilities you need from new recruits is going to be different as well. So it's fascinating how that's going to develop, isn't it, over the coming years?
Yeah, and I think as banks, we are regulated, so we must make sure that we put the right policies and the right guardrails. But as an employer, we must remain competitive, and we're very invested in the employee experience. And these days, we don't just compete with other banks, we compete with tech companies and fintechs, where perhaps the AI tools are easily accessible. So we are making sure that our employees find that they have access and that they can also get trained. Because at the end of the day, the technology can only be as good as the human being in front of it.
Yeah, because we still need that human influence, don't we? We're not quite there yet with just letting the machines run themselves, as it were. Now, just before you go Sunday, I want to give you a plug for your own podcast. I mean, we're happy to do that on the C-Suite podcast, because I understand you've launched your own series on the topic we've just been speaking about, ISO. So tell me a little bit more about that podcast and where people can find it.
Thank you so much, Graham. Yes, we do. We have launched a 6-part series that is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, as well as on our YouTube channel. And it's really about ISO 20022 and making it simple. And in this podcast series, we feature experts on everything from the practical applications of ISO 20022, the realities around the challenges of migration, as well as the opportunities and how this can be a foundation for innovation, as we just talked about. So yes, I think these days how we consume content is really through different means, and I do love a good podcast myself. So yeah, I hope your listeners can check that out.
Absolutely. Sounds like I've got another one to put on the list, so I'll happily give that a listen. Sunday, Domingo, thank you for taking the time to speak with us here today.
Thank you so much, Graham.
Very pleased to say I've been joined by Susan Yang, who is General Manager, High Value and International Payments at Commonwealth Bank of Australia. Susan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Graham.
Now, you spoke on a session, didn't you, here at Sibos on Monday?
Yes.
Called The Key to Unlocking ISO 20022, Realising its Full Potential. So Tell me more about that session to start with.
Yeah, that session was at Swift Standards. It's really well attended. So we sort of covered three different type of banks. We have Deutsche Bank and Commonwealth Bank of Australia, and another, I think, regional bank from America. So really try to cover the diversified portfolio of the banking industry and where they are in terms of the ISO implementation.
Yeah, so let's talk about that implementation, that transition. How have you approached that at Commonwealth Bank?
I guess similar to many institutions, Commonwealth Bank of Australia has decided to use the opportunity of ISO 20022 to transform the payments technology as well as our product offering. So we really use that opportunity to migrate all the payment systems from on-prem to fully cloud-enabled wherever possible. We also have rebuilt our digital channels to enhance the customer user experience. We also introduced richer and structured data. So I think that's been such an amazing journey we've been part of.
So yeah, let's pick up that point then about data quality, because that's a big part of ISO, isn't it? And what I'd be keen to know is how that impacts cross-border payments. How does it make them faster, more reliable, safer, etc.?
Yeah, so based on what we are observing, even just use, for example, outbound domestic RTGS payments as example. We went live with 100% ISO compliant last year in September 2024. So since then, based on the data we're seeing, we've already been able to leverage the richer data to increase the straight-through processing rate from 98.5% to 99.9%.
Wow.
So it's quite amazing, and I'm now really looking forward post November 2025 industry deadline for CBPR Plus, what kind of STP rate improvement we can see from there. The other benefit I'm expecting will be with the richer and more structured data that ISO 20022 program brings. I think the AI models we have will become more efficient and effective.
But I guess it's not just about you, is it? That's the issue here, that it's industry-wide. It's other banks, other financial institutions have to go through the same process that you went through. So how important is that consistency to ensure that international payments flow in the right way?
Yeah, I think that a consistent adoption, not just the schema itself, and also the really almost usage guidance across all the different market infrastructure is really critical. I would foresee even after November 2025, yes, CBPR Plus, we all will be compliant as a community. However, I don't think the journey can stop here if we truly want to unlock the full potential and the benefits of the ISO 20022 standards. The reason I say that, when you look at the fast payment systems globally, not all of them are on ISO. Even for some of those who are, they could be on very old versions. Or they might not have adopted the usage guidance as recommended by CPMI. As a result, that does create some frictions and inefficiencies when more and more fast payment systems start to open up for international payments.
Let's move on to AI. It's dominating the agenda
Very
here
hot
at
topic.
Sibos. Very hot topic at the moment, absolutely. Where do you see the best use cases for AI within payments? How are you incorporating it into your strategy at CBA?
I can see AI potential use case almost across the whole end-to-end value chain of payment processing, from fraud and scams detection to reduction of false alerts related to sanctions, from payment repairs to investigation case management. So, and I'd also think really from strategy perspective, CBA is really focusing on leading in technology and AI in order to achieve our group strategy of building tomorrow's bank today for our customers.
And would you say that it's almost like a two-pronged strategy then, with AI alongside what we were speaking at the top of this conversation, ISO?
Yes.
Yep.
I think they do support each other, because once you have more structured data, AI model can read that with less mistakes or errors, because it's easier to pick up the right information from the right text and then automate that. While historically, for example, address information could be free format, part of the creditor or a debtor name can be mapped into address line, it's become a bit harder for AI model to process payments accurately.
Well, that was perfect. Thank you so much for taking me through that, explaining more about ISO. Susan Yang, thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you, Graham. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, very pleased to say I've now been joined by Liz Leather, who is Policy Manager at Bank of England and the co-chair of HVPS+. Liz, how are you today?
I'm really great, thank you. Very energized. It's fantastic. We're here at Sibos. There are lots and lots of people around, and there's been lots of people to speak to.
Yeah, there's so many conversations going on today, and you're at the heart of those sessions, aren't you? You spoke on a session called Embracing the Future of Customer Data, Hybrid Addresses in the ISO Era. So tell me,
it's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is a bit of a mouthful, yeah. So let's focus first on hybrid addresses. Just give us an overview of what they are and why they're so important to the industry.
Okay, the reason why you need to know what they are is you also need to know what it isn't as well. So if we go back to the old payment standard, which is called MT, whenever it was transferring an address, it would do it in an unstructured format. So you would crunch an address down into 4 lines of 35 characters. And as you can imagine, you get contracted data spread across different lines. You would have pieces missing and so on. In moving to the new standard, ISO 20022, which is a new messaging standard with everything that's structured, like you put the building name in the box for the building name and so on, you end up with much more structured data, and you end up what's called a structured address. So like I said, put the building name in the building name. Now, a hybrid address has come about whereby it's a mixture between unstructured and structured. You now have the ability to do 2 lines of 70 characters, but you must separate out town name and country into a structured area. Right. And you can put in other data as well, like such as postal code, but not repeat it in the unstructured data. So that is what a hybrid address is.
Okay, so that's clear. And so I guess the obvious follow-up question is, why is that important? And what are the biggest challenges to actually implementing these hybrid addresses? It seems like they should be implemented. So what are the challenges around that?
So hybrid address and structured addresses themselves are both important. The way it's come around is getting structured addresses has been very, very hard for the industry, i.e. some of the data hasn't been collected in a structured way, so you can't put it in. Some countries don't have a unified format in terms of how they structure it, or they can't fit the information in. People don't live on a road in a location with a town and a country. And so hybrid address is really that compromise, which is getting the key data out, which is needed for many purposes, such as sanctions and AML screening, which is saying, okay, I need to know the country it's going to and the town name. Now, what the problems are behind this is separating out that data. In terms of if you can't do a structured address and you go to the compromise of the hybrid address, you're still saying to them, I want some of that data in a structured manner. So we're asking you to do a little bit less than structured, but we're still asking you to structure it. And if you come all the way down the data chain, financial institutions hold data in an unstructured format, sometimes in a structured format. Sometimes they might hold all of the data. You might ask a customer to provide the data, and they don't provide all of the data. So it's not just about trying to get it into the format, it's about trying to get all the data that you need as well, and then into the format. And that's the problems that you're facing all the way down the chain where data is held.
The other question here is the deadline for implementation is fast approaching, isn't it? So I'm just worrying, what are the repercussions if any financial institutions are not adhering?
Okay, so there are 2 deadlines. First deadline is the one coming up in November 25, where we enable hybrid address, but unstructured address doesn't go away. So you think, I've got a little bit of time, I'm happy. November 26 is when the danger point appears, the cliff edge. This is when unstructured addresses goes away completely. There's nowhere to hide. And the real danger point is here is we've got the end of coexistence, which for those of you who are not familiar is where most of the world should have switched from using MT messaging to MX messaging, this highly structured address messaging. But not everybody is doing that. And then there's a translator which enables you to get for this unstructured into a structure, into just about a like-for-like format. But at the cliff edge of November 26, addresses is when you really have to pull out that structured data. And those people that haven't even gone off the old legacy messaging are going to be asked to add on and add on and add on information. And it doesn't end with addresses. There's more data that we have an ambition to ask for. So like the Bank of England has an aspiration to ask for fully structured remittance data.
Right.
So you can see that there's the danger points there. The second part of that is that if you are not providing the data, you are going to stop the payment because it's going to need to be repaired. People are going to ask you for that information. And there's new regulation coming in, or later on before 2030, the FATF Recommendation 16, which is going to ask for addresses for parties. So this is your sort of your debtor and your creditor, the ultimate, but the beneficiary and so on. And, if you can't provide the data that's being asked for, you're really going to get into trouble. So you're going to impede transparency, traceability, and STP. This is how fast the payment goes through.
And that's clearly a real threat for the industry as a whole, isn't it? How prepared is the industry?
So, the industry has had programs of work, especially our financial institutions who are participants to our high-value payment scheme, have had programs of work on the horizon for quite a while. We are quite a tiered payment infrastructure, so the corporates face into the financial institutions may face another financial institution, the financial institution faces into us. So it's about getting the message all the way down the chain. The good news is that November 26 is the next financial year almost, so it's on people's horizons as a project that needs to be funded and needs to be adhered to. I was watching the England ladies rugby team, and one of the players said that readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision, right? And so with these deadlines coming up, we are starting to see people making those decisions to prepare, saying to us, okay, well, we need to talk about reference files. How can you help us? Talking to their clients about what they can do and how they're going to deal with customer data. They're writing out to their clients. They're getting them prepared.
So that's the cliff edge fast approaching, and you've talked about how prepared we are and what financial institutions need to do. Let's think about the role AI could play in all of this. So could ISO enable AI to play a bigger role in things like fraud prevention, do you think?
Well, ISO is fantastic because it's data. You've got provision of data and you've got it in structured format as well, which is ideal for AI to go and have a look at. And the way in which AI can be deployed is seemingly endless. Is the data there or is it not? What kind of data is there and is it not? Who's not providing our data, who's not? But it's not just that type of thing. Onto some of the solutions that I've heard in terms of being able to convert provided addresses into something that's legible. People are saying, well, you can train AI to do that as well, right? I mean, it all depends on your data quality and also on what you trained your AI on. We've got to say that. And but then there's even further, and this is the big thing that people talk about, the agentic AI, right? They're talking about you using them as agents in order to be able to go and gather the data from the customer and then putting it into the structured format. And then even further beyond that, and this is the bit where my mind got slightly blown, which is when you're repairing a payment, you can have two agentic AIs talking to each other in order to repair that. And if you think that, this is going really far beyond the realms of where my mind can even go. All of that can be instant. It's not you're phoning up somebody somewhere else and saying, I'll get back to you. I've just got another 20 other queries to deal with. This is two agents doing done, bang, gone. So it could be potentially absolutely wild what AI could do. But again, it's all about the boundaries between what you will let it do, what you've trained it on, and your confidence in it and the access you give to the data.
And to go back to your earlier point about preparation and your readiness for all of this as an institution as well. So Liz, that's been brilliant. Thank you for taking me through that. That's made it a lot clearer in my mind, and I hope it has for our listeners too. Liz Leather, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Very pleased to say that I've now been joined by Jalil Sotomayor, who is the Chief Operations Officer at Pacifico Seguros. Jalil, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. You've come such a long way, all the way from Peru.
Yes, too many hours, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, you're looking great on it, don't worry.
Thank you.
So, look, start with an introduction to Pacifico Seguros, if you don't mind.
Perfect. Pacifico Seguros is a Peruvian insurance leading company. It's part of Credit Corp, which is also the largest economical group in the country. And we specialize in selling insurance products like health, life, and P&C as well.
Excellent. And really curious to know what brings you to Sibos all the way to Frankfurt. What are you keen to understand about the payments industry?
Well, it seems like a banking space, right? But for insurance market, it's also beneficial because we have a lot of things to look at this event. We are searching about AI agentic. There's a lot of projects related, for example, with data explosion, related to inclusion services. You know, there are a lot of companies from Asia here that also sells massive products as we do. So also there are a lot of connections with professionals, not only as a providers, but also with other companies that had a lot of experience implementing things as we do in Peru.
Yeah. Well, let's take it back to the landscape in Peru from an insurance perspective. How does that education piece look like? How do you educate your customers so they understand value, terms and risk, all those kind of things? And can technology help at all in that education?
It's a good question. Related to the education thing, we're making such various things. In terms of what we are giving to our customers, one of the main things we are doing is to explain our potential customers, for example, how easy it is to be insured, and telling them how to use the claims processes, for example, telling them how to recognize when something has happened, or telling people how to manage the insurance products, what is included, what is not. And then related to the efforts that the company is doing within the market, we have this resilience program, as well as all the information we give to the whole population, right? Regarding what we call the ABC of insurance, what we show about information using our digital assets, such as Mi Pacifico, which is our internal app for the customers.
We're keen to know in all these conversations how AI is affecting the various businesses that we speak to. So what about within Pacifico Seguros? How are you using AI? How could it help in customer experience and that education part? I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah, well, this AI age, right, is in the first stage for us. We have done some things in the internal perspective as well as in the external one. Related to the internal perspective, we have done so much with our internal employees. For example, for the software development process. Nowadays, we are working with copilots and this type of tools, and which are the impacts. For example, we have gained like 30% of productivity. We have implemented what we call the extended response for cyber risks, right? Using AI. As well as, for example, for software development in the quality management process. We have the 100% of our employees using copilots. And this is, I think, that the principal things we have covered regarding the internal things for our employees. But considering the external things, we have done too much, for example, in the claims journey.
Right.
You know that the half of our claims processes, simple products, are using or are based on AI processes. Okay. So this is good for our customers because you could give them a lot of impacts. For example, 70% less time between the time you decided to inform the company you had a claim and the company gives you, for example, the money, right? You have 11 points rise in the NPS. Or, for example, this thing related to the time or the effort that the customer needs in order to insert a claim to the company, less than 5 minutes, using those simple products.
And how is that going to evolve then? If you could look into the future, maybe the next 3 to 5 years, how do you see technology transforming the insurance market within Peru and I guess wider in South America as well?
Today we see technology maybe as an engine, right, which is working with us. But in the next year, what we see is that this could be like an ally for us. We don't see that AI is gonna change the people, right, who are working in the company. But we do understand that people that are within the company as an employees, for example, must know to use AI tools, tools in order to work to serve our customers and final users.
So that education process that we were talking about earlier,
It's very important.
That also implies to your own workforce as well, doesn't it?
Yes, this education thing for us is very important. You know, the goal for Pacifico Seguros by 2030 is to convert the Peru as the best protected country in the region. So if you check what do we need to cover in the next year, is a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of work for you. So
yes, we're happy to be as part of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we appreciate you taking the time out to come and speak with us. Jalil, Sotomayor, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I really hope you've enjoyed these conversations from Kyndryl's booth at Sibos here in Frankfurt. If you have enjoyed the show, then please do give us a positive rating or review on your podcast app of choice. And if you want to get in touch with the show, you can do that via the contact form at csuitepodcast.com. You can find me, Graham Barrett, on LinkedIn. But for now, thank you for listening and goodbye.